All right, welcome into the Rocky Top Insider Postgame Show. This is Ryan Shumpert. I'm Rick Butler. A chilly night here in Athens, Georgia, ends with a Tennessee loss, 31-17 to the Dogs. Ryan, there's a lot of different takeaways that we could get to, and I'm sure we will here in a minute. What's kind of going through your head as we stand here on the field right now?
Yeah, I think the thing that maybe stands out the most, and this is two things really, but I felt like the two biggest position groups for Tennessee was going to be receiver and defensive line in this game. Both those units need to have a big game. Neither of them did. Receivers, not particularly surprising, haven't been very good all season, haven't been very good for 2 seasons. Defensive line was not very good, and that was surprising. At least the pass rush. They were fine in the run game, but they couldn't create much of a pass rush, and because of that, Carson Beck had one of his best games of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Tennessee really struggled getting the explosive plays going. I believe their longest pass play of the day, you wrote about it, 17 yards.
Yep, only play over 15.
And it was the only play over 15.
Passing play.
Yes, so... yeah, because Dylan Sampson had the long run. But ultimately, that's what a lot of it was. I mean, you look at what Tennessee was able to do. Tennessee jumped out to a 10-0 lead in the first quarter. After that, only one more touchdown for the rest of the game. That was Dylan Sampson's 27-yarder before the half. But Tennessee's offense just struggled to continue to push the ball downfield. And so that's why I take away from the receivers. Credit to you. You noted that weeks ago, that Tennessee's receivers were going to struggle in this game. I think what people maybe less envisioned was that pass rush struggling as much as it did. Carson Beck had a lot of time. And then when Tennessee's pass rush was able to get there, he was able to break, contain, and kind of get out. I remember Carson Beck scrambling for a 10-yard touchdown right behind our right shoulder right here. So two tough areas for Tennessee in this challenge.
Yeah, I think offensively, that was, like, from an offensive line standpoint, from a running standpoint, like I felt like that was about as good as Tennessee's played Georgia. Definitely running the ball. I mean, they ran the ball about as well as you could have realistically expected them to. It was just hard for them to consistently sustain long drives down the field against this Georgia defense. It's so good with some of Tennessee's offensive limitations without any of those chunk plays. And you saw, the second half, maybe I'm mistaken, maybe I'm missing a drive. It felt like the second half Georgia had the ball a lot. At least 2 of Tennessee's first 3 drives in the second half got a couple first downs, got to midfield, got across midfield. And they weren't able to sustain those drives. And a big part of it was, or at least the big thing to look back in hindsight, 2 decisions to punt that, really cost Tennessee, or at least turned out not to be the right decision in hindsight.
Yeah, another area that hurt Tennessee was just coming out of the locker room at halftime when Georgia got that offensive drive for the first one.
Well, it's right after the first. Tennessee had it 4th and 4 at the.
Oh, is that what you were talking about, Sengo?
Yeah, 35-yard line. It felt like they should have either kicked it or gone for it. It took a delay game and punted, and Georgia went 85 yards. And that just felt like a back-breaking drive they had Georgia in 1st and 25, I think 2nd and 24 with the slant, and then the phantom face mask call. The 12 men on the field review, it was going to be 3rd and 9. So that drive just felt like it had a bunch of backbreakers for Tennessee. The touchdown was 3rd down. You meant James Pierce loses contain and Carson Beck scrambled. I think that was actually down there, not right behind us.
You're right.
We were far away tonight up in the press box. So, that drive, I think you're right. Because Tennessee had a nice drive coming in out of halftime, was moving the ball well. Real conservative call to punt it, and then Georgia went right down the field. And like I said, the drive had a lot of backbreaking plays for Tennessee. And that was real indication of how the second half would go.
Let's see. Nico Iamaleava finishes with 167 yards on the day. Dylan Sampson finishes with 101. But no Tennessee receiver got above 46 yards, which, again, that was the tight end Miles Kitselman. Squirrel White did have 45, but, again, just kind of some of the things that we've been talking about already. Lack of explosive plays in the pass game. Just the pass game overall, it was tough to get things going tonight. And ultimately, man, every dog has their day, and Georgia had it today. This was just a game where Tennessee not fell behind the 8 ball. In fact, they got above the 8 ball. They got up to that 10-0 lead, but then after that, the second quarter just felt a little bit different, and then certainly the second half continued that.
For sure, and I think the biggest difference was the defense. You had the good stat that Georgia's first 3 yards went for something for like 22 yards, and their
first 3 drives went for 22 yards. Second 3 drives of the first half went for 216.
Yeah, so a huge difference there, and that continued in the second half. I'll throw another stat out there. Georgia 0 for 3 on their first 3 third downs of the night. After that, I believe it was 8 of 11. So Tennessee could not get off the field. And Tennessee's defense has been, from a third down percentage, as good as any in the country this season. They couldn't do it tonight, and that's where I think that aspect was surprising. And Jack had the stat on our podcast earlier this week how bad Carson Beck has been under pressure. Tennessee couldn't get any pressure on them all night. They couldn't get it bringing 4 even when they blitzed. Georgia did a good job of picking it up. So it's, to me, more than anything, offense obviously had a great first drive, a good script, executed well.
Yeah.
More than anything, to me, it was the defense that changed radically from that first quarter to the final 3 quarters.
I was gonna say something right off of that, but it's kind of slipped my mind. It's late and cold.
It is late. It is cold.
Athens.
I got the sniffles. Hopefully, it's not showing up on the audio.
Hey, we got so much to talk about for this game coming up this week. Obviously, Tennessee's playoff picture now looks radically different as Tennessee suffers their second loss. There's a lot of chatter about it online. I'm sure that will continue to be throughout the weekend, and obviously, we will get our playoff reveal here on Tuesday night. But again, things are going to be different for Tennessee moving forward. You can go and check out Josh Heupel, Nico Imaliava, what they said in the postgame press conference over where you're watching this right now on the RTI YouTube account. Any other final thoughts before we close this thing up?
Yeah, 2 of them. I thought Georgia was the team that finally did a good job of exploiting Tennessee's linebackers and pass coverage. Tennessee's linebackers,
Yes,
I think, have not
they
been very
attacked
good since Keenan Peely. Even with Keenan Peely, they haven't been great in pass coverage all season. And the safeties really haven't been exceptional. Not that they've been bad. They threw the ball over the middle of the field. They threw the ball to the tight ends. Yeah, they completely exploited that like nobody else has. So that was a big part of it. And I guess the final thing, and look, I would be more willing to bend on this. This is more of a, pretty close after the game. Maybe I'd feel differently. To me, this game didn't feel like the road woes that Tennessee has had. A couple delay games in big spots, one of them on a 4th down that Tennessee was going to go for it and ended up punting it. No turnovers, at least I don't know how they're going to end up ruling that Nico play on 4th down. Either even if it was a turnover or not, it didn't matter. It just didn't really feel like the normal road mistakes for Tennessee. It didn't feel like the atmosphere was too big for them or anything like this or like that. Some calls go against them, some bad calls, as is kind of life on the road in the SEC. And Georgia was just a better team. I mean, to me, that's what it boiled down to. I don't think Tennessee played an awful game. The defense as a whole, the defensive line especially, or in particular, was disappointing. But I think it was simple as Tennessee just got beat on the road by a better team.
Yeah, you said, this might be kind of one you're figuring out as you go. I agree with you. I think that's right. Hey, in case you have any thoughts on tonight's game, be sure to leave us a comment here on the YouTube video. The thing I was going to mention a second ago, not that this is a final point or anything, but that Carson Beck has been turnover prone in the last couple of weeks. But that pressure that Tennessee was not able to get to him, it allowed him to make allowed him to make solid plays in the pocket there. As we have a tractor moving behind us right here. So that's probably our cue to go ahead and get on out of here. We are still going to be recording the Rocky Top Insider Press Pass podcast. Make sure to go and check that out wherever you find your favorite podcast. Otherwise, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. We'll go upstairs. We'll record the podcast.
Sounds good.
This is Ryan Shumpert. I'm Rick Butler. You've been listening to the Rocky Top Insider Press Pass today. You've been listening to the Rocky Top Insider post-game show. Georgia beats Tennessee by a score of 31-17 right here in Sanford Stadium. Thanks for watching.